Recording.
Hey guys, welcome back to Carlienne's Corner, the podcast for Adventures of Carlienne. I am Adrian.
And I am Carl.
And we're so glad to have you guys along. We have made it to Spain in our year of travel recap. Our second city, Sevilla or Seville. I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's just the Spanish version or American version.
American.
Yeah, we had a short 3 days here. But
It was barely 3 days. Right?
Yeah, it really was. And it started off on the wrong foot.
Oh, yeah. Huh?
If you've not noticed a little slight trend in our travels through Europe so far, yeah. So we bought the Eurail pass, and the way you book tickets and use it is a little bit confusing, I would say. And we had booked our tickets from Madrid to Sevilla, but never received tickets. We just got like an email confirmation. And so apparently they send you the tickets separately, but I never got them. And I forgot that the confirmation email did not contain the tickets. So the morning of, we were trying to get onto our train and then like realizing that we don't actually have the ticket portion of it. And then, you know, even though we showed this email to the guys at the ticket office, they were like, sorry, we can't help you. Like, there's just nothing you can do.
Well, they said they don't deal with
Eurail.
Like, Eurail like stuff.
At all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were kind of given like a runaround. We had to like go to some other office and try and like figure something out. But basically they're like, there's nothing we can do for you. You should have gotten a ticket. So we just had to like pay for a new set of tickets that morning. Of course, we missed the train we were trying to get on, so we were running a little bit late. But nonetheless, we got there. Luckily, our Airbnb host is like super, super nice. Paco. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the Airbnb is still listed. I forgot. But anyways, he was super, super friendly, really, really nice, and made us feel like right at home right away. So that was kind of nice after that little...
His Airbnb had a lot of like character. Like I feel like
a home.
Yeah. It felt like a home, like as if it was his.
Yeah, and
like,
you were just staying over with him.
That could be, that could be why it's not listed anymore. But it was filled with a lot of things. Whereas, like, from our experiences, like, with Airbnb, they just tend to be more like a very soulless
Well, you know, like a
boxes.
clean, like, very minimal place, which is fine. You kind of, you know, you don't want to feel like you're living in someone's clutter. But it definitely felt like this was someone's home and had a very nice feel to it. Yeah, and he was right away like totally willing to give us some recommendations, which led us to a restaurant, Arte
y Sabor.
Sabor.
Yeah,
Something like that, guys. Sorry. For tapas, and it was super neat because when we walked over there, it turned out to be like this monkey band week or something.
I think it was called like Monkey Week. And it's like a week of like rock band stuff.
Indie band. Yeah.
There's like a big stage like on the way to this restaurant. There's huge stage. A lot of places you can like get beer, hang out, listen to music. It was pretty chill as far as rock band or festivals go. It was kind of chill.
Yeah. It wasn't like no like mosh pits or anything going crazy, but apparently it's like this like week of music where the city is like tries to help promote like smaller indie bands and stuff like that. So we were like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, what an awesome time to like be here. So then we passed through that and some crowds and stuff. It was like a family affair too, so like a lot of like kids around too. And then we got to the restaurant. And everyone was trying to sit outside, of course, because of the festival and everything. Yeah. So,
but for us, we just needed food.
So
out of all that, the whole travel thing, we had to leave very early. And leaving Madrid, like this Madrid, what is the station called? It's like Atocha or something like that. And it's a really nice train station, but we kind of didn't have the time
To look at it
to
at
look
all.
like really. I mean, we had the time. If we didn't, if we
Mess
had the tickets,
I know.
but I mean, like, whatever. It was another fun story about our trip, right? But and we were very quick to remedy the situation. But anyway, dealing with all of that, then we just wanted food, so we didn't care where we sat. We were pretty much the only ones inside.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful day, and if you're walking around like Seville, there's like a ton of these like orange trees,
That's
which
what they're known for.
apparently are disgusting.
Yeah, they were
Like,
completely diseased.
Yeah,
It's
like
so
a lot of
sad.
trees were diseased, but it's just known to be gross. Not like, orange tree, I'm gonna pick one, I'm gonna eat it. No, they're nasty. Like, I heard they were gross, they're not that great.
You
But
cannot eat these oranges, which is a real shame because there's like a lot of them and they are fruiting. And you would think like, like what a source of, food potentially. But it was funny too because I knew they were diseased because I had a project for work prior to this trip. We worked with Save Our Citrus, which is a California effort to protect our citrus. So I actually learned about all these like different like issues that citrus trees can have. And then it was like walking through Sevilla and like seeing all these like rows and rows of like beautiful citrus trees and then looking closer and then realizing like, oh God, they're all speckled and oh, they got all these spots. Like these are definitely diseased trees. And then you're like, but there's so many of them. And you feel like, wouldn't it be so much better if somebody like took care of them and then they could actually like have like good fruit and people could actually eat them. Like these orange trees are everywhere.
yeah, it's like the only tree that's there.
I know.
It's what it feels like. Yeah, it's crazy, but they're gross. Anyway, back to the restaurant. It's like a Moroccan-inspired tapas spot, right? And before the trip, we already had this love for like Japanese croquettes.
Oh yes.
And so we ordered these croquettes.
Yeah. Because they had a whole bunch of like different varieties of croquettes and we were so excited when we saw that. I don't remember Madrid having very many croquettes. So I felt like it was like definitely once we hit Seville and then also Barcelona, there were more croquettes. Strange. I don't know. Maybe just our experience. But yes, the croquettes were very good. And then also I remember when they asked, for like drinks. And so we learned like going through Europe, like usually a lot of countries will make you pay for water. So you might as well just get like a drink. Like usually it's comparable to like getting a glass of wine. So you might as well get a glass of wine. And they, when you ask for a recommendation, they're like, oh, do you like dry or like sweet and or something? And I thought it was like, oh, just a little sweet or something. But the wine I ended up ordering based on the recommendation was like almost like dessert wine. Like it was sweet, like Moscato. And I was like, oh, okay. Which didn't really go, I would say, with my tapas. But it was tasty. So something to keep in mind. I feel like the Spanish like sweets. Like the sweet wines are very sweet. So, and you're less likely to find something like dry. If that makes sense.
To go with like
that would
savories.
like go with your food.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry guys. I'm not someone you should trust on wine, but that was just my experience.
But yeah, but Seville, I think we only had one full day. Like we were there for like half of the day, the first day because of travel, and then the second day we had to leave the last half of the day. So I don't think it was 3 days, but technically.
I think.
Yeah, so so we hit a lot of spots on that full day, right? You did a lot of research on like how we should do our little route of going around, right? And I think
to fit everything.
Yeah, and I think you fit in, or you found out that we should check out this one church first before going to like the main Seville Cathedral.
Yeah, so a lot of people recommend doing like I think it's like the Divino Salvador. There's like two churches, and if you pay for a ticket at one, you can get the combo ticket, which, you know, for cheaper. And then so so we tried to do that, but luckily, or not luckily, I don't know, either way. But when we went to that church, it was raining, first of all, and we had to like bum rush it because we didn't have an umbrella. And when we got inside, there was actually like nobody there at all, like no one to take a ticket or anything. So we were just kind of like, is it open? Is it closed? Like, not sure, but we're here, so we'll take a look. And it was actually really nice. Like, I think out of all the churches we visited in Europe, that one, because it was small and very intimate, and you could basically go almost like right up to the altar pieces. Yeah, I'm sure there's a term for it, but you can actually see them up close and see the detail. Whereas a lot of the other bigger churches, like, you're so far away from it, you can't really see anything, and it's usually really crowded and really dark, and you can't read any of the placards either. But this one, it was like everything was very clear. It was well lit. You're not fighting any crowds, and you can take as much time as you like. So I thought that was like such a difference. And then it did work out because it was like we did end up going to the big cathedral that all the tourists go to. And
yeah, we saw it. But Paco recommended to go there at the 10 a.m. mass so we can hear them play the organ, because he said it was like very nice sounding.
It's beautiful.
But you know, just with the whole timing and not having enough time there, we weren't able to make it at a 10 a.m. mass. But we did see it, but it's very big for a small city.
Yeah, but you're also not allowed access to much of it. So even though the church itself is big, unless you're attending mass or something, you don't really see all that much of it. So the touristy area, or the area that's open to public, is sort of like a little bit of a round, like going around it. And then they have some placards and stuff, but everything's really dimly lit and it's super crowded. And so it didn't really feel like that great of an experience.
Well, a lot of churches are kind of like that. And I like that they are. Like, they, for tourism specific stuff, is very limited. Because, I mean,
it's not meant to be a tourist.
Yeah,
of course.
It's not a museum, but
of course.
I know there are people that want to like admire like the architecture, the design, and everything. But at the end of the day, it's a church. You know, you go there to pray, do your things, and then that's what it should be for. So I kind of like that they do it. Whereas I feel like some areas, some churches, it's like, you know, open to everywhere, and then kind of kills the mood for people.
Actual worshipers.
So.
Absolutely. I do think, well, you know, even if like when we were like at Notre Dame or something, it's like yes, then it shouldn't be a tourist space at all. Like, don't even, like, why even have these placards or this space? You know, it's like the doors are open for service, and then it's like, if service is going on, then no one else should be like going in and out.
Or the next place, the Sagrada, where, you know, the chapel for like mass and everything is like a whole different floor. You know, and you are allowed in that area if you are
actually going to there are like no phones. Weird thing is, we'll talk about that later, but anyway. So that was the Seville Cathedral, and there's just so many things to see in Seville. Yes.
Again, with the whole pattern of, we just didn't give ourselves enough time in Europe, period, in each place. And one of the other things that we went to was the Casa de Pilate.
So the more famous one is the bigger, what is it called? The Alcazar. Alcazar? I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Sorry.
Yeah, Alcazar.
The Alcazar, the giant palace. So that's sort of the famous one that everyone goes to, and it's usually very crowded, and you have to like book a certain time to go. But while learning about that attraction, I had also read about like a much smaller house that was also like a royal house, but it's not like a palace and like grounds. And that's the house of
Casa de Pilates.
Pilatos, or Pilate.
But it was very nice. It had like the tiling in this place was like really, really nice.
I think it's better. Like I would actually recommend
Doing that over
over
the
the
Alcazar.
Alcazar.
The Alcazar is huge.
Yeah.
And you definitely need some time. And I think we said that instead of waiting around for the line to get smaller and going, probably one of those things you want to do in the beginning of the day because of how large it is. Because it's not just like a house or things, but it's like the gardens.
The grounds are massive.
It's there's so many things, and if you want to get a good photo, you most often than not, like, you're better off going early before all the tour groups and tour buses like roll through.
Yeah, but it's so big that you're gonna hit the, like, by the time you're there, like at some point you are gonna hit the crowds of the tourists. So that, all that said too, it's like I totally recommend going, especially if that's what you like to do, look at the architecture and the gardens. But if you're not that big of a fan, then actually the smaller house is a much nicer, like quick, easier to digest bit
And
of.
I think the admission ticket comes with the audio tour.
I think so.
I don't think we never opt to pay for extra for it. And I remember
We actually got one,
We
though.
actually got one.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I think it comes with it. So that's really nice. Whereas the Alcazar, I don't remember having any like audio tour, but I know they offered that.
Yes.
So there's also that in that admission ticket, and like, you know, those things are pretty cool. You just punch in the number of the exhibit or the
Wherever you're at, the room has like a little number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just punch that in, play it in whatever language you want, and it's cool. The only thing that sucks about that is you got to hold a phone up to your head, unless you're like
and you
me.
stuck it?
Yeah, I stuck it in my hat, right in my hat, so that's like over my ear, and genius moment, you know. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, yes, the house was a much nicer, because one, it's not as exhausting to be like, it's so overwhelming to like have to see so much stuff and walk around for so long. And it was really quiet. There was probably only like another handful of other people visiting the house. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. It was much more like cozy and quaint, and it was like, you know, the weather while we were in Seville also had some like drizzly moments that weren't like super sunny or beautiful. So I thought it was like, like so cozy and quaint, and we really had time to just like look at things and not feel rushed or chased by other people.
Yeah.
You know,
Whereas the Alcazar was like, you know, some of the hallway, I remember like the hallways being very slim, you know, and being that most tourists are Americans, we're not the most slimmest. Definitely not the most slimmest. So it's was a little troublesome to get through. Especially with my wide shoulders, you know. I was basically facing
it was the backpack.
And the backpacks, you know. Oh, that problem again. But
yeah.
I mean, we solved that issue pretty soon here in Seville. But anyway, the Alcazar, definitely recommend going there too. Just, you know,
just plan for like a full day or something there, you know, and to just know that it can be very tiring. But it's exquisite. And, you know, as much as we talked about like Portugal having a lot of like beautiful tile work and stuff, as Carl mentioned, like Spain has a lot, and especially Seville, a lot of tile work. And that's, I think, because of its history, given that there was like a lot of different rulers that at some time occupied like Alcazar and like in the city and stuff. And so there's a lot of different styles of architecture and artwork and stuff. So it's like very beautiful. You'll see like Arabic script like right next to like, you know, like Spanish tiles and stuff like that. And it's like really interesting
like
to just
things
see
influencing other it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that was definitely a highlight, especially for those who like love gardens, like formal gardens, I should say, too, because everything is like structured or has symmetry. They have like sunken areas or like little fountains, stuff like that. It's super beautiful.
Yeah. And then speaking of gardens, the Santa Luisa Park, which is right next to the Spanish Plaza.
Yes.
Plaza de España. If I know like how it sounds like,
Then you can
then
say.
I can say it.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
if
okay.
it's like
Just reading it out of nowhere.
yeah, it's like really hard. Or if I've heard the word how it's said in that like accent, I feel like I can get it. But anyway, the Plaza de España.
Yeah.
Right? Much better
Yes.
than me saying Casa de Pilatos.
Oh, gosh.
I feel like it's not a hard T. Casa de Pilatos is maybe, I don't know. My accent, grade my accent. Let me know. I'm not trying to butcher it on purpose, but like,
Yeah. Genuine curiosity of like,
Yeah,
how do I
yeah.
say this correctly? Yes.
I remember just listening to some podcasts where just like Casa de Pilatos, and I'm just like, you're not gonna try?
No, I know.
No, you're not. No, all right.
Nope.
You know, we're in America. It's jalapeno. It's not jalapeno. Okay, got it. But anyway, Plaza de España.
Yeah, that was super beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't have high expectations. I don't know why, even though I'd read about it. And then I was like, oh, no, it is stunning. So all of Seville has all these like historical places. And the plaza is basically like almost, in a sense, like how like they tried to make Epcot Center, that like sort of like a Epcot.
Epcot. You're not gonna.
You know
at
why
least try at it?
I was thinking of apricot. And I don't know why.
Apricot Center in
Epcot Center. Oh my goodness, guys.
in Florida.
But yeah, so it's supposed to like be a space that has like a little bit of each like region, city in Spain or something like that. And like, you know, like what represents it. And I thought that was like super cool. Like I was like, oh, I wish we had something cool like this at home. But ours is not
we got
that
Epcot
cool.
Center,
It's not
so.
the same.
But you know, it was really cool. There's like a little. I don't want to. It's not a lake, but it's like a little
Like a
stream
canal.
or canal that you can also take a weird short boat ride to in.
Yeah.
Which we saw some people doing. There's like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. There's like 2 levels to it as well, right? There's like an upstairs and a downstairs.
All these bridges that people like to like take pictures on the bridges.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a lot of people hanging out, but it didn't feel too crowded there because a lot of it's like spaced
Open.
out.
It's super open.
Yeah. So
And then right next to the Santa Luisa Park, which is quite small, right? It was tiny.
I think it's big.
There
That
were
one's
like horse. The
yeah,
horse
you can
ones. Yeah,
the horse-drawn carriages that are just lining up there and wait. You know, I mean, I think it's probably nice because I think the park is actually quite big to like walk yourself, and probably not something you would do as a tourist, given that there's like the plaza right next to it and stuff like that. But we did walk around there a little bit. And think it would be like a really nice place to like go back and like hang out and just like relax, as opposed to like try to do something there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of gardens looking at the Alcazar. I mean, we fit a lot into that day, I think.
Yeah, we did.
One of the cool things that we fit in was this Yema thing. So Yema, I don't know how to explain it.
Sugar.
It's just plain like a crap ton of sugar made with sugar by sugar. No. And it's made by these nuns who can never leave the convent. The convent. Yeah. I forgot.
Well, it's not that they cannot. It's they commit to staying.
Yeah. They
It's by
commit
choice.
to not leaving the convent or having any outside exposure. And literally this is the only exposure to the outside world they have. And it's a crazy process to get these.
Yeah, you have to find this
it's
turnstile door.
it's very what do you call those, prohibition
Oh, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
kind
Feel
of like feel to it, where you go to this convent and
window.
window, like it's on the outside. I think there was some construction during the time, so it
It was
felt even
hard to
more
find.
more sketch than we thought. We're like, what the heck? And then so we find the window. There's like a little old paper on there that shows like the prices and how many, and you ring the bell, you hear a nun yell like, what do you want? But not in English. It's not like that.
Yeah, she yelled something. We
Yeah.
didn't quite understand, but then we just said like, Yemas or something, and then
Side note, every time I think of nun, I always think of Sister Act. and so for some reason in my head, it's like, it's not Whoopi Goldberg. Like, what do y'all want? It's like,
not at all.
nah, it's not like that. There's, so they take your order. They're getting it ready. They'll then, like, you have to open like a little window, put your money there, close the window, and then they
spin.
it's like a lazy Susan, right? So they'll spin it. They'll put your order there. They'll spin it. They trust you to give the right change, and then they give your stuff, and then that's it. It's a cute little box, right? It's a little box with like a bunch of Yema. And in Philippines, we also have our version of Yema as well. And for the first time in my life, there is something sweeter than the Filipino version of something. Like, there is going to be nothing sweeter than a Filipino spaghetti. There's nothing sweeter than a Filipino ice cream or a lumpia. But when it comes to Yema, that's already a sweet.
Very, very
Theirs
sweet.
was, oh my gosh. Like,
So
I couldn't
rich.
eat it.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat it because it was so sweet. Yeah. But we feel good. We like supported them. It was definitely fun to go, to do that experience, and we know we're supporting something, and we definitely recommend you do it, even if it was garbage. Like, I think the experience is all worth it, to be honest. For me,
Even if it was garbage, I mean,
no, I mean, it's just really sweet. Just, be prepared for something really sweet. And
intense.
but I do recommend going through that experience, because everything in Seville is very like, it's a church, it's a plaza, it's a garden. Everything is like relaxing, tranquil, and like, other than the tourism stuff, but like, and then you're like kind of hesitant to do this thing because you don't know what the heck you're in for,
The
and
air
like
of
how
mystery.
it works. Yeah, and so it's like, it's a nice, fun change of experience.
That's true. Everything else is like very formal and ornate, and then this was sort of like a, is this really happening kind of thing moment? Yeah. That's true.
What else? One of the other cool things that we did was we watched another flamenco show. And this time, this needs a whole podcast on itself. So
No, nobody wants that to be a whole podcast.
It was cool because Adrian was looking for another show, and she found this spot at a place called Casa de la Guitarra. And because I like guitars, I'm a guitar person, ukulele person, music person. So she, thought it would be very interesting to go see it. And
so it's like they use this, it's a little bit misleading to call it like a museum or anything, but it is a museum of sorts. They have like a really special collection of guitars that, especially in the flamenco world, it's like, oh, the guitar, a famous flamenco artist played and had and such and such. And he's collected a lot of different guitars. So there's maybe 2 walls on both sides. So it's like a small room. And they're behind glass, and you can go in and look at them at almost any time as long as they're open, for like a small fee. But if you book a flamenco show, which they have every evening, then you're going in and you can look without paying extra for that.
And you get a show.
So, and the way they describe it on the website is that it's supposed to be very educational and you'll learn all of this stuff, which I would say is not really how it happened. Although it was still a really great experience, a really great performance, I should say, not experience.
Not experience. Because, and I'll let you tell it because most of it happened to you.
I know. It only happened to me.
Yeah. I mean, we had some pretty good seats. We were like second row
We were
in dead center.
we were in the front. We were sitting in the front.
Oh, you were sitting next to a kid.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And so
No, we weren't in the front because... Anyway, tell your story, but... Remember
Oh,
there were
no,
two
no,
more
she's in
people?
front of me.
Yeah, she was in front of you.
did we move?
I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
Okay, anyways, guys, so this is what happened. We had booked the tickets kind of actually somewhat last minute, and I was really shocked because I thought I was like, oh, we kind of like are probably not going to get good seats. But we get walked all the way to the front, almost, second row to the front. And so we were like really excited, like, oh, great seats, you know.
Oh, I got it.
And
They put us up there because we were short.
it's possible.
So people behind us could see to the show. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
But when we sat down, I was sitting like right next to this little girl, and she was like laying across her mom's lap to the right of her. And I was just like, oh, hello. And, you know, and she looked like really sad and really tired. So I was like, oh, I guess she's not like really feeling so great. That's too bad. What a bummer. And, you know, but, you know, her mom's like rubbing her back, and they're just kind of there. And more people are coming. There's like a group of French people that sit behind us that are chatting about the guitars and stuff. And, you know, we're just like looking around, enjoying, getting ready for the show. And basically almost right before the show happens, the little girl next to me suddenly kind of sits up, starts to cry, and then proceeds to vomit and like spew it forward and everywhere.
Yeah.
And
she's covering her
and
face, so it's not...
She's like, yeah, she's
It's not
trying
like projectile or just like a clean route out of her mouth. It was like she's trying to stop it with her hand, so it's going through
her hand and everything.
And everywhere else.
And of course, it's splattering on the floor, and it happens to land on me because I'm like right next to her.
Yeah. Not just one speck, like,
no,
you know, not a serious amount either, but you know,
a significant
splash zone, like edge of water world splash zone kind of thing, like, you know.
Yeah. So that, and of course, you know, the mom is like trying to take out a plastic bag, and I was like, oh my God. So she was expecting this to happen, and she was like not ready for it at all. And I was just like, oh God. But mostly I felt bad because you can tell the little girl was so uncomfortable, and she was just like miserable. You know, so I'm like, oh, it's okay, you know, it's okay. And then so the mom apologized, and they like leave, and then somebody comes and mops.
They mop that area.
Floor,
they kind of clean the seat. The seat is drenched basically, and
they don't really clean the seat though.
Yeah, like they wipe it,
Which
not
like,
with anything wet.
Yeah, and then
just cleaning the chunks basically.
Yeah,
and then you know, a few minutes go by, and then here comes the one of the hostesses, and they seat two other people in those seats. And as soon as they sat down, you heard like everyone around us that witnessed this vomiting went, oh.
At the same time.
All of us at the same time.
And yet they didn't turn around or like think it was weird.
Oh man.
And then she put her purse down on the ground. So it was like, oh God.
Yeah, it was all bad. And then the what makes it even funnier is we think they were on their honeymoon because they were so like touchy, lovey-dovey, like during the show and everything.
Yes.
Good thing they didn't know they were sitting on vomit. Yeah. But that's what happened there. And
yeah. And it was like the show was already started. So we wanted to say something to them, but basically the show had already was starting right when they were seated. And I was already trying to like deal with the spillage on my side, and luckily like some of the people behind me like helped me like untie the seat cushion, because I remember the seat cushion was wet, and that's why I was like trying to like not sit on that part. So they helped me untie it, so I was able to take it off and at least like sit on just like the chair so it would be cleaner. And it was just like by the time they sat down and everything happened, we were just like, oh, well, okay, we're like this, it's okay. We're just gonna go with it.
Yeah. It was just funny. It was just like as soon as
gosh.
those two new people sat down, just everyone like in that front row was like, ooh. It's just a low humming. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. But the show in general was pretty good. It wasn't as intimate as the first one in Madrid.
I think, but that was because it was, so the way they set up the show, it was like meant to be more educational, but the guy was speaking primarily in Spanish, and like there was no translations or anything, even though they're like catering to like an international audience. The hostess could speak English, and she said something in the very beginning of the show, but then that was like it. So he would, like in between songs, he would speak. The guitarist would speak, and he would say some stuff. But also his delivery was very like practiced and not enthusiastic. Like it was just like, yeah, like this song is like from such and such and such. Okay. And that like where like it didn't feel like even if I could understand the language, I felt like it didn't have any sense of like meaning or purpose, because the delivery kind of just like it's very flat. And then because every song was sort of like interrupted in this way, it I think lent itself to like not as intimate feeling, because it was like not as seamless, right? Because you're always taken out of the moment. But yes, but it was still very beautiful, and the dancer was also very, again, like you can see when they're like sweating or when they're like their eyes are glistening, and you just feel like the emotion is like so powerful. Still totally worth watching. Yeah. Just with the right expectations, and
right.
Be careful.
And no children who are sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then afterwards we went out towards like the main night area, and we found a little tapas spot called Taberna Alvaro Perejil. Is the G silent? I don't know. Is it silent, guys? Who knows? Taberna Alvaro Perejil or Perejil, something like that. And there we first time trying orange wine. So orange wine is typically made with white wine and then
orange peels.
And orange peels, right? Yeah. So like Iberico ham, this orange wine, to call it orange wine, like what is the
standard
vino de naranja?
Oh yeah.
Is there's also a governing body that like makes sure that there's a standard requirement in order to call it orange wine in Seville or in that area. And basically it has to be made with white wine from Huelva, I believe, and then it's macerated with like orange peels. And so there's like all of that. I remember you saying that it tastes like Chinese mandarin, like dried mandarin peels.
Yeah.
Chenpi?
I actually don't remember how to say it correctly in Chinese either, but it's essentially what it does for me is it invokes family road trips, because that's literally the only reason why my parents would buy that. It's like these peeled or dried mandarin peels, and it has a really distinct taste, and it's supposed to help with nausea. So that's why we take it on these like family road trips. And so like imagine if, like say you take some, like it's like taking something like Tums and then but being like, okay, but like drink a whole glass of it. Like really pungent, like
medicinal
and like where it makes that sharp like salivating bit in the back of your tongue, like it's like not what I expected at all. I was like, orange wine, I'm so excited to try it, and then I was just like,
yeah. It was very potent indeed. And then we also, in this little tapas spot, tried Iberico pork cheeks
So
as like a stew.
good.
And
Oh man.
yeah, again with the Iberico, like I mentioned, it's like it's, in order to be called Iberico anything, it has to be a certain type of, pig brought up in a certain way, things like that. So
But you can imagine, since all the legs are always taken for the hamon, like
what's
the rest of the pig?
it? It's
Cheeks, man.
pork cheeks.
So
Yeah.
good.
It was really, really
So
good.
good. Yeah, that became like one of the things. So like anytime we were at a tapas restaurant, we would look for croquettes and then add pork cheeks.
Yeah.
Because man, that as a person whose family is big on like stewed stuff like oxtail or short ribs or something, like the pork cheeks were like hit home for me and were like so tender, so savory. Specifically this restaurant, Taberna, they had, I think theirs was like tomato. They had a little tomato base or something in there. So it was like extra flavorful. Like all of them, when you order them, they're going to be savory because that's just by nature the dish. But they all make it different. And this particular restaurant that we went to, I remember that was our favorite place to get the pork cheeks because it had the most like full-bodied flavored stew.
What did we get? I think we also got some sort of like fries as well.
I think we also tried a squid that did not turn out good,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But the pork cheeks, excellent.
Pork cheeks were super good. Wash it down with some orange wine, and then wash that down with some water. It's definitely something you guys need to try, though. I think even if you have even if someone says that they don't like it, doesn't mean you will or you
absolutely.
won't, so try it, give it another shot. Unfortunately, we couldn't find orange wine at a different spot again, even though I'm sure it was everywhere, but for some reason, I think we just stopped looking, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, then we moved on to trying another drink.
Yeah. Which is
men's-
another story because we
Yeah.
didn't know what was going on in this place. So on our basically last half of the first half of the last day or something like that, we saw this bar called El Rinconcillo Bar.
which is famous.
Bar of drink.
Yes.
something. But the thing why it was such an experience is because there was so many people just outside of this bar, and we're like, oh, there must be a soccer game because Europe, soccer, football, you know what I mean? And so we just figured that was it. Nope, there's something totally different. It was across the way there's a church. It was the reopening of the Santa Catalina de Sevilla church. So people were lining up outside of this bar and through the street, because everyone's waiting for the procession of all the what do you call it?
It's like the artifacts that they are bringing
Into
from
the
one church
church, yeah.
into the next. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was crazy. We didn't know what it was because once we got into the bar and got waited for our little spot, we ordered the wines and we're like, let's just wait this out to see what the heck it is because we really didn't know. And then so maybe an hour or two later, we're just chilling, and then
Yeah, we even asked because we were standing next to a couple who did speak English or something, and then we were trying to figure out if they knew what was going on, but nobody knew. And then but then you could see the crowd getting bigger and bigger outside of the window, and we were just kind of really, what could this be? And then and then it was oh, luckily we had already ordered, had some stuff, and was well situated before it started. And then we started to notice that people were moving, and you could see some thing moving around, and we're okay, this is a religious event. And then also it dawned on us, we had seen it on our way in, but they had banners, purple banners, so you knew it was some sort of specific event, but we didn't know what it was or Yeah.
or that the church across the street was reopening.
Yeah,
And that's what everyone was waiting for. But it was a pretty cool experience. It's like everyone's lined up very like, you know, into it, and just, you know, waiting for the procession of, like, you know, the priests, the different, I mean, like in Filipinos call it like Santo Niño, so it's like all the like the cross, you know, statues of like different saints and things like that. And so, you know, people were waiting for that. And then we didn't stay, but I'm assuming once that all got in there, they would do some sort of like mass or blessing or something for everyone that attended. And you know, that's pretty cool. That's kind of crazy, you know. But Manzanilla, what do we think of the wine?
I think it was better than
orange
or
wine?
more palatable, not better, right? Better is not a good description, but it was more palatable than
they're
the
both
orange
very strong
though,
flavors.
yes.
Yeah, very strong flavors. Yeah,
not for the faint-hearted.
No. Yeah. And so Seville was just, you know, I guess those 3 days. And we walked around a lot. Despite like it being drizzly and rainy, we were like, you know, we did walk around a ton. And we really like the city. I think it's probably, again, one of the spots we would go to. I think we said that right after leaving. Like, we were like, damn, we should have like extended our time there, you know. So it's another spot to go back to.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, might just redo the whole Europe trip when our dog dies.
Shh, don't say
Oh,
that.
sorry, she's listening. Oh, no, she's sleeping. Or she's dead. Oh, no, she's moving. But yeah, like Seville, definitely a place we need to visit again. And
just stunning, like a place that is really filled with history, and like not, you know, not just like one history, but like so much has happened there, and so many things are mixed there in a way that is like very surprising, and so beautiful. Yeah, I think I was just blown away by, like, I mean, I say this every time, but like tile work, God, like, can you imagine the people that had to like put everything in and all the work
make those things? Not even
everything,
like you're thinking like painting by hand.
Yeah, all the mosaics, all the altar pieces in the churches. Like, I just felt like Seville was like a place where I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Like thoroughly
impressed.
The
city is a museum.
Yeah.
But so that was our time in Seville. After that, we headed to Barcelona, the big city, the big city. So on the next episode, we are talking about Barcelona and our time there in the great big city. And yeah, so if you're watching this, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to give this video or podcast a thumbs like.
Yep.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one. If you guys want to talk more about Seville, if you went there or if you're going there, let us know. Reach out to us on Scene, and hopefully we can start a conversation there. Alrighty, we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.